Hey, guys. Welcome back to Tea with Tamela. Today I have Demario back again. I think he's applying for a job and we're trying to see how he's going to do. So he's back. And today we are talking about dating and intimacy boundaries that occurs or should occur when you're dating. So, just kind of trying to let the ladies know, don't give benefits or husband benefits to the boy next door. And we're just going to kind of talk about our story and how we kind of went through celibacy, courtship, the boundaries we put into place, and how that was beneficial during our courtship.
Yes. First, thank you for having me back on, Mama Davis.
You're back.
Okay. First things first. I gotta get an eval. What I'm how can I get better for my first episode? What?
You were great. You were great. You did phenomenal.
Uh,
Phenomenal.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay. You sure? I mean,
You were great. You were great. You're a natural. You're a natural.
oh, thank you.
You're so funny.
Look, I want this job so bad. Folks don't realize, like, I've been sitting in the bushes as you've been building your podcast. Like, man, that podcast is about to be off
It's
the
been a
chain.
long time coming, but we're here.
But
We here.
look, I've been seeing it coming all together, all the pieces coming together, and just been looking like, man, I really want to be on this podcast.
Oh, well, I'm
And
so
so when you
glad.
asked me to do an episode, I was like, oh man, this is my moment. I got to go in. And then you brought up being a co-host, like, oh,
Potential co-host.
that's what I'm saying. Listen, potential. It was thrown out there.
It was thrown out there.
You know, we gotta be ready for the opportunity.
You got to be ready.
You never know.
You never know when they're going to put you in the game.
You never know. You know, and so look, when you put me on special teams, I ain't trying to just play special teams. I'm trying to start. You let me
Try to
start.
prove your point.
You let me start. I'm trying to make the Pro Bowl. All right, look. You know, so thank you. That means a lot coming from you, Mama Davis. Dating.
Yeah, we're talking dating. I feel like, I don't know, we've told our dating story or how we began to date like several times. I don't even know if we have like clarity on what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's two sides to the story still.
It is two sides, but you know, I figured out something recently when we were talking. But we can go. We'll get to that.
No, what'd you figure out?
Well, we figured out what could have happened and how I could have misunderstood.
Definitely misunderstood. You definitely misunderstood. But long story short, Demario had eyes for me. And he was so eager to communicate with me after class. So we met in college. I feel like a lot of people don't know, but we met in college at Arkansas State.
Red Wolves.
I'm a Rusk College Bearcat, and then Red Wolf after that. But I got a little bit of it in me. But I'd gone to Arkansas State for grad school, and Demario was in his last year of undergrad, and they had a class for whatever reason where grad students and undergrad students were kind of mixed. And so
only class I've ever been in like that.
Yeah, and it was medieval literature. So I still don't know why he was in medieval literature, because I'm an English lit. I was an English lit major. He was communication, so it really doesn't make sense. So we're just gonna say that was all God, like trying to, spark something, But he, was just after me. He was after me. And for whatever reason, he thought I was after him. So he called his mom and said, this girl in my class liked me. I hadn't even spoken to the man. So what's your side? Do you have a different side?
First of all, I hope people can hear the inflection in your voice to know that you're not telling the truth. He was after me. I hope that people get enough time watching your podcast to know, like, that ain't it.
No, they're gonna know. They know me.
So what took place? First of all, for us to meet was definitely all a guy. We ended up in the same class because I had got to my last semester in college, and my advisor told me, I don't know what happened in the system, but you don't have enough uh, liberal arts and science classes because I was a communication major, and so I did all my general ed early on, and then all my classes after that was just making music or making commercials and radio broadcasting and stuff
Making
like
music
that.
and commercials. Okay.
I got a
I'm sorry.
portfolio.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
See,
Keep going. Keep going. Making music and commercials.
I was doing a little bit. I was trying to get my Suge Knight / Spike Lee on. I was
Okay.
trying. I still can dab. I do a little bit. It really just got limited to just making highlight tapes, pretty much. I was making highlight tapes for my teammates.
Movies and commercials.
But look, I still got a dream. But we ended up in it. So they told my schedule was I had to get more classes, and so they told me I needed 18 more hours when I technically only needed 12. And so I decided that I was going to put all 18 of them into one semester because I wasn't coming back. I was done. I was finished. And we figured out a way to get the schedule right to get all that in there. And one of the classes that they said was you can either take American Romanticism or you could take medieval literature. And I'm like, I'm not taking medieval literature because I remember
Why not
I remember
medieval?
in high school we did some type of thing where we had to do all this dress up and we had to fight with swords, and it was just like the corniest thing ever to me.
Much fun.
It was not.
So much
And
fun.
then when they fed us like these big old chicken leg quarters. And the chicken was dry.
Leg quarters.
And so it was just a horrible experience.
Crazy.
It was a horrible experience. I just remember like I don't
You didn't want no more
that.
leg quarters.
I didn't want no more.
You wanted your thigh and your leg separated.
Man, I mean, and they set it out too. They took us to this extravagant place. It was like one of them old school feasts. I just remember them big old chicken leg quarters, just like this big. Just
don't invite him over and have leg quarters. He don't like leg quarters.
No size, just leg quarters. And I mean, they brought out the whole medieval experience. Now, if somebody's job out there is medieval, like you love that, like everybody has a passion, and I don't want to knock that. Like I want to celebrate that and honor that. It's just not for me. And they got out there, they were doing the fighting, and they was hitting with the big old wood, those wooden / cardboard swords.
So you were just over medieval.
And they was hitting them, and it was like, oh, you got me. And it was just like, man, are we kids? Like we just, it's like this. Man,
I love medieval. Love it, love it, love it.
So I was not taking that class, but somehow something happened with my schedule when we came back, and they said, the class that you signed up for is not their American Romanticism, so you have to take the medieval. And I was like, and so I remember the first day of class, I actually came in late.
You were super late. You were like running in, and you had like I think it was like a briefcase or something like hanging half off your shoulder. Your jacket was like looked like you pretty much got in a dressed up businessman got in a fight on the way to class, and you came in. And you're like waving a piece of paper. It was like, hey, I'm here. I just added this class like 5 minutes ago or something. I'm like, who is this creep?
I was super focused on my schoolwork. If you knew where I had came from. See, I had came out of the world, had came to Christ, and now I was
came straight to medieval class.
Now I was focused. I was in school with a suit on, had clean cut.
Ooh, you looked a little rough, ruffled.
I had to run across campus.
I get it. So we meet in medieval class, and I took medieval because I had taken it in undergrad, and sadly, I needed to adjust to grad school, didn't know what to expect. So when I learned that I could take medieval again, I was like, oh, this should be a piece of cake. I have all of my papers, all of my work. Just gonna refurbish some things and kind of crawl into this space. And so there we were, medieval class. And at some point after class, I mean, his story is I was always eyeing him, and I was talking to like one of my other friends, and when he get ready to leave out, I'd be like, all right, girl, see you later, bye. And I'm like, what? No, conversation was over, and just so happened, I think every time.
So let's just get the clarity around this. Oh, what took place was I'm in class, even though I rushed to class and I was looking rough, but I suited back up when I got to my seat and got my composure. Now, she's probably by the end. She sit behind me. I sat on the front row, guys. I was focused. She sat on the back, all the way in the back.
Because I had already been focused in medieval before.
The first seat when you walk in, so the back left, right when you walk in the door.
You remember?
Yes, I remember, because I'm like, she's
so who was eyeing who?
She's who was eyeing not focused on class. She is trying to come in and get out. She's just trying to be in and out. And so I'm in the front row. I got my computer. That's when the MacBooks have really just kind of hit the scene. I had that thing up.
We still have that computer upstairs. It doesn't work, but we have
Yeah,
it for
yeah,
memories.
yeah. And so I'm up there doing my thing. And then when class over, she probably was like, who this smooth brother? Ain't nobody on
Oh my
campus rocking
goodness.
no suit. And ain't nobody on campus really
Oh
got no
my.
clean
Okay.
high top fade with the part,
Kid,
and,
straight kid and play.
and sitting on the front row and attentive. Like that checks all the boxes. And I probably like cracked the joke in class and
You
just
did not check all of my
well,
boxes.
well spoken.
Did not check all of my boxes.
I was dark skinned and you wanted a Wesley Snipes dark type person. So I didn't even know that then. But
I told you that later.
I
but
know, but if you looking for Wesley Snipes and charcoal black walk in the room with a suit on, that's
you
that's
should be ashamed.
That's a bag of snacks. And it's all wrapped up.
A bag of snacks.
And it's all wrapped up.
I am so glad that you were so confident. I appreciate that about you.
I'll be honest.
Okay.
But
your honesty. So you know what? Let's just spare the people.
When I got ready to walk out, she said, she was talking to her friend. I got ready to walk out. She said, "Okay, girl, I'll talk to you later. Bye." And she walked out right behind me. And I was just like, oh, that was kind of interesting. She just cut her conversation short. And then the next time it was the same thing. Like, okay, girl, I'll talk to you later. Bye. And she walked out right behind me. And I told my mom, I said, I think this girl want me to talk to her in class.
And what'd your mom tell you?
Boy, you always think that. And it's true. That's true. That's true. But the last time I went extra slow. And then she saw me walking towards the door. She waited. And then she was like, I'll talk to you later. And she walked out in front of me. And then I said, well, let me say something to this young lady.
He was doing a good deed.
I don't want her to have an aneurysm or anything. So I'm going to just say, I'm going to say something.
You're ridiculous. You are so ridiculous.
I said, how you like the class? And this huge smile went across her face. And she was like, oh, well, I think it. And when I saw that smile,
I don't even talk like that.
You do. When you first talk to people, you do that.
Okay, whatever.
Hey, how you doing? You do that. And I just thought, man, I got her. A guy, he thinks, soon as if I can make her smile, I got her. That's just the guy.
So he did not have me.
I didn't. You know what?
Not.
I realize now that you do that with everybody. You're such a friendly person.
That part.
That you make everybody feel warm and welcomed and, like they heard. And I thought it was me. And that was just, it was just your character.
Oh, I'm glad you feel that. I want everybody to feel like it's them. That's my aim. That's what I aim for. So anywho, this man then asked me, I don't know, like a couple of weeks after. So long story short, we're like walking and talking day after class and, chatting, realize we're both from Mississippi. We're not, to like an hour drive from each other. We've probably been like in some of the same places at the same time and just, chatting. And so at some point he asked me to be his Valentine, but then there was a catch. It was like, you have to be my Valentine for the whole weekend. And I'm like, well, that's strange. Like Valentine's is only one day. And so I go back to my apartment and I'm talking to one of my line sisters. Well, no, two of them and another frat. And I'm like, this guy from class asked me to be his Valentine, but the catch is I had to be his Valentine for like the whole weekend. That's like 3 days. I'm like, what's up with that? I've never had that. So, so my frat says, girl, he trying to get in your panty drawers. And I was like, whoa, wait. And he was like, he trying to get in your panty drawers. Like, he wants you for 3 days. There's a catch to that. So I was like, oh, I got to think about this because if that's what he's after, no. That is off the table. And so from then I realized one of his teammates at the time was dating my roommate. And so they would come over. And I would cook. And so I cook, these Southern meals, collard greens and fried pork chop and all the things, and they would hang out. And so one day as I'm cooking and I'm like, I still don't know if I'm gonna be your Valentine. I'm still thinking about that, but you're welcome to come and hang out with us. And I hear him talking to his teammate at the table. and I was eavesdropping, which I do have the tendency to do from time to time. And I heard you say that you had been celibate for 2 years, and that the next person that you were intimate with would be your wife.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get there? Like what happened? How did you get to this place of, you know what? This is kind of the path. So I heard that and I was like, well, my friend was wrong. He may not be trying to get my panty draws.
It could have been a setup.
It could have been a setup.
I knew you was
It
listening.
could have been a setup,
No,
but you weren't aware that I was
I
listening. And I
wasn't
knew
aware.
that.
I wasn't aware. Actually, I mean, you could when I came on the college scene. I had picked up a lot of impure ways. Just from my childhood and in high school living, and come on college, just living the college life, and chasing after girls was just a thing. And I ended up coming to Christ in December of 2008, and I was in a relationship that I had been in since high school. And coming to Christ and realizing, okay, you got to surrender your life over to Christ, and Christ don't want just some things; He want all things. And so it was like trying to figure out how to, keep this relationship, but keep Christ at the same time. And we had a lot of things that we were doing wrong, and so somehow God he did his thing, and that relationship was broke off. And when that relationship was broke off, I wanted to spend entire 6 months just nothing, no. When I realized after I broke up, it was very hard to go through that breakup, but it ended up being the first time I had been alone with God since I had came to Christ. And so not to a part I might have left out was I came to Christ and I stayed in that impure relationship for like another year or so. And so when that broke, it was like realizing this the first time that God has actually had me alone with himself. And so I wanted to honor that and cherish that and just see, okay, well, God, I want to study myself more. I want to know what it is that you're doing in me. And so I went 6 months, like it's no dating. There's no talking to nobody, no, going out, no talking to, no nothing. And it's just, if I have any girls around, they're just friends, and it's no like romance or anything like that. And so in that time, just walking with God, it was very easy to be celibate, because now, I was trying to pull out of a relationship that
Right.
had, impure ways. And so once that was gone, it was kind of like off the table. But now it was another level of, with these ladies that I'm not dating them, I'm not talking to them in a romantic way. It's just me and God. And so at the end of that, I had became so strong in my faith, and so confident in who I was. And then it was that time, it was like, okay, well, the next woman that I'm with is going to be my wife. And so I want to pursue towards that. I want to date towards that. And so kind of coming back on, I remember around January, that's when we ended up meeting. And it was around that time where it was like, okay, God, I'm looking for my wife. Do I already know her, or is it somebody new? And so just really praying through that. And I was like, I started to court, and that's how I asked you out on
He was
Valentine's Day.
courting.
I was asking you out on Valentine's Day because courting was like, how do I have a friendly way of kind of showing myself to an individual and let me see this individual in a way that's going to protect them emotionally, and kind of keep us at a safe distance where we're not engaging on anything that husband and wives only supposed to be engaging in. And so that's kind of how I got to that place. And so I think it was partly some of the time when I was in the relationship had stopped, and then after that, going that time with God, and then meeting you, and walking that out.
Yeah. So that conversation led me to say yes to be your Valentine for the whole weekend. And it was then that I learned that you had a ton of boundaries in place for yourself, that just really prevented you from getting in sticky situations. I guess I should say. And so we went through that weekend, and it was over the top. I mean, When I tell y'all what he did, like, don't do this for the first date for anybody.
No, I don't recommend
I
nobody
do
do it.
not recommend this. So he had like,
I would do it again. If I could go back, I would do it again. But I don't recommend
I
nobody
don't
do this.
recommend it.
But I
So
would do it
he
again
said
for
it
you
out. I
1,000
mean,
times.
people were showing up at my door singing "My Girl." I was not his girl, but I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so sweet. There were gifts arriving. He was taking me to like all these different events on campus and all these dinners where they're greeting. I mean, he went all out. Don't do that for your first date
And had the
because
suit. Had the suits on.
and he had the suit on, and I
Might
had
have been the
special
same suit from class.
requests to wear a black dress one night and a pink dress the other night. So it's just like all of these things, but it's dangerous because a lot of women, if they don't have like strong boundaries, if they're not emotionally healthy, then that can be extremely misleading.
Oh, very, very much so. I went over the top. I wouldn't recommend it to nobody, but I would do it all again. Tell them what you told me. What could have happened?
No, absolutely not.
Tell
You're
them.
so
Hey, you
you're
gotta be
so crazy.
real. We gotta
No,
be real in this show. Can I tell them? Can I tell them?
you because I can't tape your mouth, but any
She said I could have got it first night. I could have got them draws.
listen, listen. I was not a believer yet. let me put that out there first. So he was already on his walk. I was not yet on my walk, but and it was so crazy because I'd been in impure relationships before as well, and it was just like, but I still had boundaries inside of those relationships. And I remember, I think it was after we were married, I told you that I was like, I knew I was tripping. I'm like, I'm tripping because that was so out of like alignment with the strong boundaries that I had living inside the world.
Right.
So yeah, long story short, that did not happen. Let's just let people know that did not happen. But we went through months and months of only being friends.
Right. Yeah.
Just because
even after that.
Yeah. Even after that. So we went on a date and was like, oh, like it was a nice date. You know, we like each other. It was cool, but not to a point where I like you or like let's go exclusive or anything like that. And so yeah, we had a good time and we began to hang out more. We started to hang out in like different friend groups. And there was a campus ministry that he was already a part of that I started to participate in and just kind of learn a lot about like faith and Christ and what that looked like. And I grew up in church, you know, my whole life, kind of like checking the boxes. And shortly after, it was like February, I went on this spring retreat, ended up giving my life to Christ. And I don't know, you didn't go on that retreat, I don't think.
No,
and
you went on that one by
so
yourself.
he wasn't there, but I remember running back to my friend and just saying like, oh my goodness, like you won't believe like what happened, like what I experienced and encountered that weekend. And we just kind of like chopped that up. And from then on, I think we were just kind of in a place where we were almost inseparable, but still like very clear boundaries, very much saying like you're dating or courting, just like, you know, looking for your wife. But we both knew that the next relationship either of us was in, like we wanted it to be something that was serious, intentional, and like a pursuit towards marriage. And so we went on a couple of more dates, but still like I feel like we were in a place where we were like, we're best friends. Like you'd become my best friend because we were able to talk through like all the things and all the people and just whatever. So it's like, oh, like we're best friends to the point where we're like, we kind of like each other, but we don't really want to mess up the friendship. So do we like each other? Or do we just want to, you know, kind of stay in the friend zone? And I remember at one point we were like, you know, if we don't end up together, like whoever we end up with has to be able to accept that we are best friends,
right.
Which is weird. I don't know if somebody would accept that or not, but
was
that was kind of like a non-negotiable. Like this friendship cannot end because that's just how connected we felt without intentions of dating or anything beyond that. And then what happened after that? I think
we went for as friends for a minute. So Valentine's Day is in February,
and we met in January,
and we stayed in that friendship phase up till May.
Yeah, so like 5 months of being like
May
really,
4th.
really good friends.
May 4th was the picnic.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we go on this picnic, because I don't know. I think I told you I like picnics
Mhm.
and reading or whatever, whatever. And so, but I do remember before that happened, because I felt like I was starting to develop potential feelings that were like beyond the friendship. I'm like, I cannot jeopardize this friendship. So I remember praying, like, okay, God, like, help me to get that under control, because the friendship is so much more important to me. But then too, like, if this is not the individual for me, because I knew like where I was going, just in my faith walk with what I was looking for in my next relationship, I'm like, remove the feelings that are starting to develop that's outside of what we've already cultivated.
Mhm.
And that was just a sincere prayer for like, I don't know, for or a few weeks or something. I don't know, whatever, whatever. But then the picnic happened.
Mhm.
And so I wasn't aware of the picnic. I don't know how you came to, maybe you can let them know like how you came to the conclusion of, oh, I'm gonna do this picnic and I think I'm ready to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was soul searching on both sides. We both were trying to figure out what this was.
Mm,
But we knew it was a friendship.
right.
And it was really about not messing that up with kind of selfish or tainted motives, or one-sided feelings or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. And so it was much kind of a very touchy situation. I mean, because we used to talk about everything. We
Everything.
talked about everything. And from an individual perspective, it wasn't like we were talking about it as if we were in a relationship, but we would talk about, like, hypothetically, like, excuse me, the life that we live now and the life
Yeah.
that we
But
desired,
not with
not with
each
each other.
other.
It was just
Weirdly.
like, this is the life I want. And it was very interesting. And so we were very much compatible in that way. And like you said, we had already agreed, like, man, if you get in a relationship with somebody else, they just gonna have to deal with us. And so we were just cool. We were just tight.
Mm-hmm.
um and we, like you said, we were really inseparable, I felt like.
We were.
But it was not inseparable in a romantic
In a
way
romantic way,
at
though. It was just
all.
like we just clicked.
Yeah.
And I always had like a ton of male friends. Like I mean, I don't always advise like people to, males and females can't always be friends, but
Hmm.
like even like growing up and like in like undergrad, like I had a ton of male friends where it was nothing, like
Hmm.
we were just all cool. And the weird thing was, you were the first male friend that I had that I actually like, I may like him, and I'm like, that's weird, like scratch it, like you don't
Hmm.
like your male friends like that. So
Hmm.
that was the first time I was like, oh, I kind of like him, maybe not.
Hmm.
But yeah, so
Yeah. And so I think it was during that time, where I started to think, you know what? But I think I started liking you already. But
maybe I
but
wasn't aware of
I
it, but
started to like you, um, because it was one day that we were hanging out, and God had showed me, like, that's your wife.
hmm,
That's your wife. And I wasn't really sure, like, okay, is this God saying this, or is this just something like you coming up
what a
with,
devil.
or is it the enemy? And um, I didn't understand the attraction.
Mm.
And so, like, that inseparableness, like, why am I so attracted to this individual? Like, why can I, like, not want to be around her or talk? Because, like you said, it wasn't no romantic. It was very different than anything I had felt before. And I started to really pray about, because I'm looking for my wife at this time.
Mm.
And so, like, I ain't really got time to find no homegirls. You know what I mean? I'm looking for a wife, brother. Brother, it's been 2 years. It's been 2 years. So at that time, I'm really trying to weigh it out, like what it is. And I just really started talking to my, my accountability brothers, and talking to my mentors, and letting them know, like, I think I want to pursue this woman. And that's a very big decision, because it goes from courting to pursuit to proposing. And so I knew that. And yeah, I talked and came to that conclusion that this was the move, and
Mm.
this was the woman I was going to pursue. And I had talked to the guys, and once I got everybody's kind of approval on that, that led to the picnic. And at the picnic,
The picnic.
we laid it out, had a good time. I knew what it was that she saw as a good time, like reading and poems and wine and picnic baskets and just outside by the water, even though she don't like water.
And I don't like water outside, but I like the idea of it.
And so set the picnic out. But I think, then I wrote you a letter, but the letter was very intentional.
Yeah.
And about what my plans were for dating you.
Yeah. So the letter was very, very much a proposal letter. No, yeah, again, he goes all out, people. But it was just very unique and intentional about like how you planned to go about the courtship. And I remember you saying, you were like, if you're not interested in potentially becoming my wife, or you're not like pursuing like marriage in your near future, then I'm gonna need you to say no. Because you were on the search for your wife and you felt like pursuing me was pursuing me toward, and you said that you was like, if you say yes, like I'm pursuing you towards marriage. Which had me all like jittery and butterfly because I'm like, oh, no one's ever said that before. Like this is some deep stuff happening rapidly. And so
I thought you were gonna hear that and run. I thought you were like, man, bro, somebody trying to get married. Like how you gonna go from friends to married? I'm like, man, she's finna run. Like I'm like, man, this is not finna go well. I know, like I've been in this CO and campus outreach, and they tell them about how to date seriously and date biblically. This woman do not know where I'm coming from with this. She is about to be like, man, this dude told me, he wrote me a letter talking about he want to marry me out of nowhere. That's what I
my
was
friend. So yeah, but I think that the good thing is like, although we were both in CO, like there were some things that we were getting that were the same. There were other things that we were getting that weren't necessarily the same, like because there were like guy meetings and girl meetings and all these different things going on. So long story short, I end up saying yes. I said yes. And I remember, I don't know if maybe I started to have a few tears or something. But shortly after that, I think we both were hugging. So we hugged, and then and I think we were alone because a lot of times we went out like we weren't alone. So we we both kind of hug and we lean in, and we were very close to what would have been a first kiss. And I think your lips got, I don't know, maybe I can't even really show, like maybe right here. But you stopped and you were like, I don't know, you put your whole hand, it was like, no, we can't do this. And I'm like, wait, is he proposing and breaking up the same night? Like what's going on? And so what happened when you stopped that initial first kiss?
I think it was important to set the precedence of where we were going, that we were going down this dating path, but we were going to walk this thing out the right way, that we were still going to have a lot of boundaries on our relationship, because that we weren't just dating each other, but we were dating each other in front of God. And so it was about setting healthy boundaries and knowing, okay, number one, being celibate, we're going to remain celibate till we get married. And so, and we don't even know if we're going to be husband and wife, if the proposal is going to happen yet. So it was just like, okay, we're going to date now, but this dating really doesn't change from much from a courtship.
Right.
It just means that we're looking at each other intently on being married. And it's not like courtship is, it's just like friends getting together and going out and seeing if they like each other.
Right.
Pursuit phase is, no, I've decided that I want to pursue you. I'm choosing you. Let's look at this intently and focused on if we can be married.
Yes.
And so it was saying like, we're going to that phase. We're not going to the married phase.
Right.
And so I think that's what that really was, it's not finna be, like, I know I can't kiss. I'm not saying anybody's dating can't kiss. I don't want to put that out there. That was just a conviction for me. Because once these lips touch, we're going to a whole nother level. It's gonna ignite the magic. and
Magic is his nickname as
and
well.
so I'm like, no, we can't kiss. And when we hang out, I'm going home at 10 o'clock. I ain't hanging with
So
you.
he put even more boundaries in place when we went to this phase. Because
Mm-hmm.
before, I mean, a lot of times we were always in people group, but there were sometimes like we could hang out, like my roommate would be there and all that. But you put even more boundaries when you decided that you wanted to court.
Yep, yep. And when we went into the pursuit phase.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because like now we know we're attracted to each other. So, kind of all the enemy is gonna get real busy now. And he's gonna come after, and the flesh is gonna be woke. And
Woke.
and yeah, so it was, 10 o'clock, gotta go home, can't hang with you after 10 o'clock. No moments of us just being by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of making sure the accountability brothers always knew kind of where I was and if I was with you. And you definitely like no kissing. Yeah, and so just kind of going to the extra level, just making sure that we don't cross no bases or nothing
Don't
like that.
cross any boundaries. And I remember one night we were hanging out, like, I don't know, I was writing a paper and you were like playing a video game at my apartment or something. And I was still up working. You'd fallen asleep playing the video game on my sofa.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just put a blanket over you and went and closed my door and got into bed. And all of a sudden I heard doom, 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 doom. I'm like, oh Lord, is that the police? Like, what is going on? What did I do? And it was one of your accountability partners. And it was like, he gotta go. And I'm like, he's asleep. Mind you, I lived all the way across town. But they came to rescue you from your sleep? What did you like? How did you set that up?
Well, I just knew I was supposed to be back by 10, right? And so like, or 10:30 at the latest,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean I live like 5-10 minutes from you, and so um if I wasn't, my accountability brothers also live with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, or at least one of them did. And so if I wasn't there, they already knew like, something going on, and they knew I was going to be with you. So, and we were very tough on each other, and we were very serious about our walk with Christ,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not, allowing for any opportunity for our flesh to kind of come back and combat us. And so they just had my back. They was like, nah, bro, I don't know what you got going on up in there. But it's interesting. Like I think about what if something would have really been going on.
It was stopped instantly. I was like, whoa, I'm asleep.
Yeah, he was in there asleep, didn't know what was happening.
I'm like, I don't want him like that. He's asleep. He can just stay. It was like, he got to go.
He got to go.
So you were so sleepy. I think they drove you home and you came back, got your car the next day.
Yeah.
So we went through our courtship pretty much just keeping those strong boundaries in place, strong accountability. And there were times where we were like, maybe we should just go like, no, this was, I guess, after we got engaged. So we dated up until December, and then like you proposed, and then we were just kind of like, oh, maybe we should just go, like elope and get married or whatever. So yeah, things were yeah, we were ready. We were ready. But I guess how were you able, because you'd never seen those boundaries modeled before, how would you explain to someone, I guess, the importance of establishing those boundaries and the importance for a man to lead? Because like, even if women have boundaries, I feel like at some point it's easy for the right one to tear those boundaries down. I learned that on the first date. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is dangerous. So how do you, I guess, encourage men to lead when it comes to that?
Well, I think men are very physically wired, so they have to lead physically. Because when you start to emotionally undress a woman, or those guards start to come down, it's going to naturally lead to physical interactions as well. And so a male has to be aware, because they're physically wired. They have to know where their boundaries are to prevent physical activity from happening. And so the minute that you drop your boundaries, that's the minute the enemy see those boundaries you drop. it's the main opposition. The enemy ain't playing fair. They say Roy, like he's roaming around like a lion, and he's there to seek, kill, and destroy. And he's waiting for opportunity for there not to be a parameter up so that he can get you. And so you think about a zoo, and you got all those wild animals, and then you got the llamas and the sheep, there too in the petting zoo. But there's fences around, there's boundaries, and you have to put those boundaries up. And you just have to know yourself. Like for me, the no kissing was a thing. I knew I needed to be home by a certain time. I knew I didn't need to be alone, and you have to be real with yourself. Man has to be real with themselves, and know it's on them. And you can't be saying, "Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna count on her to kind of hold the boundary because she ain't gonna allow that to happen." Because you're gonna, soon as something happens, you're gonna be blaming her. It's on the man, and the man has to be strong and lead in that way, and set those up. But you need strong accountability too. It's not gonna be about it that you're gonna win alone.
Right.
And the main thing that I would encourage is, your pursuit has to be God before it is a woman. Your pursuit has to be God.
That's big.
And you have to realize that the enemy is real, and keep your parameters up, because the enemy will creep in even when you think that he won't. And so I think that's the importance, that to make sure that you date healthily. Healthy, have healthy dating. And because especially when you first meet an individual, or you guys decide, it's so many things that you need to get on the same page about, emotionally and mentally and even spiritually, that if you don't have healthy boundaries up and you start going down and navigating those spaces, the physical interaction is going to creep up, and it's going to taint how well you connect mentally, emotionally, because all those chemicals from the physical connection is going to creep up, and it's going to create a euphoric feeling that you're going to look past things that you really need to talk about. A lot of
blind spots.
You're going to look past those things. And so, especially early on in dating, but all throughout your relationship, you need to have healthy boundaries up. And men, especially, like when we don't have strong boundaries, that's when we stumble. And you can't lie to yourself. You got to be real with yourself. And if you think your boundaries are strong enough, you need to have stronger ones.
Yeah. I think that's big. And I think that's been one of the beautiful parts, I think, of our marriage is we were friends first, but because we had so many strong boundaries early on, we were able to build, I think, so many other different areas of our relationship where the physical is a plus, but if it was taken off the table for whatever reason, like it wouldn't. I'm gonna speak for me. I don't know how damaging it would be. Like I feel like we would be sustainable, just because our relationship wasn't built on only physical pleasures and the other things weren't blind.
The physical is a plus. It's a plus.
It's a plus, but I'm just
it's
saying.
Like the triple plus. You get the A with the triple plus. Plus. I mean, you got.
They do not do that. They do not.
You never gave a triple plus when you was a teacher?
No.
You never gave a student a
A
triple
plus, not
you never
A.
gave an A plus?
No. You better be happy you get a plus. No, plus is too much.
That's like, man. And that's,
okay,
yeah. And we did have, I don't never want to say stuff like that. Lord, don't take that off the table.
I'm not saying take it off the table. That's not what I'm saying. But what I mean is,
that's not what sustains us.
Right.
That's not what sustains us. Our friendship, our communication, our mental oneness, and our growing emotional connection. Like early in the kitchen, where I felt what you was feeling at the same time was crazy.
You were
that was amazing. I like that. But things like that is what sustain us,
right?
And the physical is just the plus.
It's amazing, and it's definitely some pluses, but I think
pluses?
It's a lot of pluses. I mean,
how many pluses?
Plus. I'm just gonna write pluses all up and down the paper after I give the A's. It's a whole bunch of pluses. I ain't even gonna see what the quiz was no more. So yeah, but I think that is extremely important when you're going through courtship, because that could again create a ton of blind spots, and you're not able to work on other things that's going to be beneficial long term. Because like even when the physical is there, there's going to be other things that are going to need
Mm-hmm.
attention, whether it's mental, whether it's emotional, and so I think it's extremely important to create those boundaries when you are, attempting to live a life pursuing Christ, but
Mm-hmm.
doing it in a way where you are honoring him through your dating phase, I guess. And so from there we shared our first kiss on, do you remember our first kiss?
Our wedding day.
Yeah, our wedding day.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, and
It was
so
magical.
it was magical. It's like I've waited over a year to kiss this man on his lips. I, the people were like, "All right, all right." I'm
We
like,
forgot where we was
it's
at.
like, "Oh, we're in the church.
We
Okay,
forgot where we was
let's
at.
go, let's go." It was so funny because the reception was still going on, and people was like, "We leaving.
We
Y'all
out of
can
here.
party.
Y'all party.
Y'all can
Oh.
party all night. We paid the DJ and everything.
Look,
We
we
out of here."
showed our face in that reception. There was pew up out of there. You hear me?
Running out of there, running out of there. So, I guess what would you tell, like, if you had to speak from a male's perspective
Mm-hmm.
to a single woman who is either just entering a courtship that has not yet been physical,
Mm-hmm.
or who's currently involved in that, or who's celibate right now, not dating, but desire to be in a relationship? Why should they not give husband benefits to the, we're just going to say the guy next door or any guy they may encounter?
I think because um God brings the wife to the man when he's ready. And if a man is trying to get husband benefits as a boyfriend, then he's not ready. So
Mm,
it's clear that God has not brought you to this individual
mm-hmm,
versus God brought me to him, but he got a
mm,
little bit of stuff to work on. Like
mm-hmm,
the way that God is going to bring the woman alongside to be the helpmate is, man, this brother is trying to pursue God full heartedly, but it's some things that he still needs some help with.
mm-hmm,
And him trying to get you is not what he gonna need help with from you, because you're not gonna be able to help him in that way. Because if a brother's pursuing God, but he ain't got his lusting habits quite figured out, what he's gonna do, his pursuit of God is probably gonna emotionally undress you.
mm,
And it's gonna leave you on guard and leave you vulnerable. And because he don't have the physical piece together, it's gonna leave you guys in a damaging and compromising situation. And not to say that brother ain't pursuing God, but if he ain't got that physical piece down pat, it's gonna lead you guys to build on a bad foundation.
mm.
And
That's
that's
big.
and that's that's the heart. It's gonna be things that's gonna come up alongside in your relationship, but you want to make sure that you get a good foundation in place. That's the only way that buildings can stand. And
I
so
love
just
that.
know, as here we are at year 10 going on to year 11. It's stuff that's gonna happen, but you have to, if you built on a solid foundation, it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
help you stand a lot better if you don't build on a good foundation.
That's big.
And so that's what I would encourage, is just understand, like, if he's pursuing you, physically, then in at any moment, like, he could appear not to be doing that at first. And then all of a
Mm,
sudden he is. That's a sign that he's not. And so, like, okay, brother, if you ready to pursue me physically, you need to be pursuing me towards a marriage.
mm,
And so the Bible do say, don't burn away with lust. And so it's better to marry than burn away with lust. So if you really feeling me, but you feel like you can't withhold yourself from me, you probably need to be figuring out a way that we can get married,
so we cannot burn away with
so
lust.
we cannot burn away with lust. And so I would encourage that. But and once you start pursuing marriage, it's gonna make you start doing other things that leads up to that. And so, like, you're
Mm,
gonna start doing marriage counseling. You're gonna start reading books together
mm-hmm.
on marriage um and things like that. But yeah, sisters, you got to make these brothers wait. You got to make them wait.
Make them wait.
Gotta
Put
make
the
'em
top
wait.
on the cookie jar.
Yeah.
Make them wait.
But or you got to be and it's harder for the woman to make them wait because a brother can come in, you know,
Casanova. Smooth
Casanova,
criminal.
like I said, and he could emotionally undress you, and that leads to the physical. But you have to put an alarm on. A woman has
Pew, 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 pew,
like
pew.
men have to have boundaries. Healthy boundaries is having healthy alarms. So it's
That'll
man,
preach.
if my eyes are wandering, that's an alarm to me to let me know like my flesh is up.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm staying up late and I'm watching stuff I'm not supposed to, that's an alarm that's letting you know like your flesh is high right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so you put up the boundary, which is, you know, I'm not going to stay up late. I'm not going to let my eyes wander. You put up the boundary, but once you cross the boundary, there should be an alarm that goes off that lets you know like, hey, you better make some changes. The enemy is about to get you. And so women have to have, I would recommend to have an alarm that once you see the man trying to pursue you physically, that he is no longer representing a man of God.
Got it.
And that's your alarm that something needs to change. Either he needs to start going into a pursuit phase towards marriage immediately, or he needs to redirect his actions and go somewhere else.
Ooh, these men gonna be turning this podcast on. Don't listen to that, girl. We ain't trying to get married next week.
Look, if a man of God ain't trying to listen to the man of God and woman of God podcast, that's a sign right there.
That's a sign. That's an alarm, huh?
Look, because we just gonna try to keep it true to that word.
Yeah. Well, that's big, man. Thank you for sharing. I feel like now we should go and we have a 48-hour rule, which we'll tell them about later on another episode.
Oh,
but
I'm coming back for another episode.
Maybe you may be back. You working your way into that job. You're working your way into that job. But let's get out of here so I can go give you some A pluses.
Plus. We'll holler at y'all.
Plus.
Let's wrap this thing up.
Thank y'all for joining us. We'll see you soon or talk to you soon. Whatever.